All right, I think I am live. It's been a while since I've done this. So, hey, for those of you that may be watching, number one, I apologize. My dog is outside sniffing around where we had some work done today and barking quite ferociously at the side of our house. So if you can hear him, I'm sorry, I can hear him. But for the rest of you, I just want to take a minute and say, looks like somebody can hear me. I got a thumbs up. Thank you so much for that. But I wanted to just say I'm here. I was not able to record a video this week, so I thought I would go live just to kind of answer some legal questions you might have. I've got some topics that I wanted to talk about. I don't have that much time today. I'm in between client calls right now, but I just wanted to let you know that we're still here and posting content and doing all those sorts of things. That it's been a weird couple of months in that we were moving back from Portugal, but I'm back now. So anyway, the first thing I wanted to kind of talk about today, and if you have questions that you want me to answer, just go ahead and post them in the chat. And I see Robbie Digital Photography posted. Thank you so much. But just go ahead and post them in the chat, and to the extent that I can answer your question, I will do so. But the first thing I want to talk about is something that's called the Corporate Transparency Act. And this is a new law that goes into effect on January 1st, 2024, so in a little less than a month. And it's something that anybody who's in business right now, whether you're a solopreneur or a larger corporation or a startup or anything like that, anybody who is in business right now really needs to be aware of. And basically, the whole point of this law, of this rule, is to provide a little bit more transparency for the U.S. Treasury. It's going to be enforced through the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FINCen. You might see that listed someplace. And basically the general idea is if you own an LLC or you have an ownership interest in a corporation of some sort, then you will need to report that to FINCen. And the whole idea here is to help prevent money laundering and dirty money and probably terrorist money and different things like that, so that the U.S. government knows kind of who is in control of all this money. So that's the general idea here behind this law. And so what do you need to know for right now? Well, honestly, I think that people are probably making a bigger deal out of this than they maybe should. I don't think it's a huge deal, although it is going to provide a little bit more of a headache for people that are starting businesses. They need to be aware that this is a requirement they're going to need to do. And I'll be sending out emails about this in the coming weeks to my clients, and to, if you're on my email list, and you can get on my email list by going to hawthornelaw.net and signing up for any one of our different lead magnets, checklists, things like that. You can get on the email list, and I usually send out emails at least once a week with information that you need to know to legally protect your business. But so what do you need to know for FINCen? Well, what you need to know is beginning January 1st, you can submit your information to the government. It's going to be done electronically, as far as I can tell. And it's going to apply to beneficial ownership, which means you need to provide identifying information about the people who directly or indirectly own or control a company. So if you have an LLC, then you're going to need to provide this information. This was passed, it was a bipartisan law that was passed back in 2021. And it basically will, you'll have to report this information. If you are, the one thing you need to know, and I apologize, I lost my little train of thought there for a second, but if you currently have a company, then your deadline for this, you don't need to freak out and think, oh wait, I need to do this by January 1st. No. You have until January 1st of 2025, so in other words, the end of next year, to report your information. If you are a brand new business, in other words, if you are starting a brand new business on January 1st of 2024, and I do have a lot of clients that work with me who, if we start an LLC for them this time of year, we frequently will push the effective date of that LLC till January 1st. And by having that effective date on January 1st of next year, you will have 90 days to comply with the law. So if you're an existing LLC, you have until the end of next year. If you are a new business effective January 1st, 2024, you'll have 90 days to comply. Or if you form a business after January 1st, you'll have 90 days to comply. If you form a business in 2025, that 90-day reporting requirement goes down to 30 days. So that's basically what you need to know. I mean, that's it. Like, I've had a lot of people email me about this law. They're all worried. They're all up in arms. I don't think it's, I think it's not a huge deal. You know, it's a way for, you know, the government to prevent money laundering and terrorist activity and all sorts of things, and protect us as citizens. So it's just telling the government who owns these corporations. So you can't just have these entities that are owned by, you know, who knows who, and doing, you know, things they shouldn't be doing. Anyway, so I have a comment from Mad Dog. I think that's right. I love that name. Thank you for everything you do for us. I've learned so much from you. You are very welcome. I appreciate the comment. And I'll just post it right there. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. If you have other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I didn't have a whole lot that I wanted to share today. I will tell you that I've got some things coming down the pike with our law firm. Our law firm is really changing the way we've been doing business. We are primarily a trademark and corporate and online business law firm. So if you go to hawthornelaw.net, you'll see kind of how we work. I will say, and this is a question that I do get asked about quite regularly, is Hawthorne Law is a DBA of my main law firm, which is the Hart law firm, and I had to register that DBA with the state, and that's an important thing to do. So if you're doing business as something other than the name of your corporate entity, you do need to make sure you register that, and that's so that if somebody wants to sue you or send you legal notices of some sort or things like that, that they know who to send that to if you're doing business by a different name. Okay, so let's go to some questions. Michelle, what can I do if a car lot charged the price of a new car, but the paperwork says it's both new and used? I'm not sure, Michelle. I don't deal in those type of issues, although I don't know how a car can be both new and used. It's either new or used. It's not both. There are legal requirements in each state that define what a used car is. So a used car could technically be, I mean, if it has under a certain number of miles on it or it's never been sold. I can tell you my personal experience. I bought a car years ago, probably 15 years ago, where the car was actually in an accident while it was being transported to the lot. And I didn't find out about it until after the fact. And yeah, it was something they didn't have to disclose because it was never, there was no report about it. It just, it had been in a little fender bender when it was being driven around while it was being transported, and that was a problem I had to deal with. So, but no, I don't know if you sign the paperwork. You know, some states have a period of time where you can rescind a car purchase agreement. I think in North Carolina it's like 3 days, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's a week. I don't know. You'll have to check. Usually you've got some sort of paperwork that says if you decide you want to rescind this, you have a certain number of time. But I don't know. It depends on the state where you live. All those are state-specific laws. Rob Digital Photography says, what happens if I start my LLC in January and I miss the 90-day deadline? There likely will be some sort of penalties. They could be financial penalties. Let me just see here in my notes if there is. Let's see, if you could face civil and criminal penalties if you disregard your beneficial ownership information, is from the notes I have. So I don't know what those civil and criminal penalties are. there is a small entity compliance guide that I will post in the comments. Hold on, let me just get the link. And if you want to read through that, it'll give you more information about what happens if your company does not report within the time frame. Baruto's dad says, how long can a non-compete last for? So typically that's there's going to be two answers to that. Non-competes, the law around non-competes is kind of strange because it's a contract, yes. However, there are public policy considerations also. And typically there's going to be limitations on how long a non-compete can last. It has to be reasonable in most cases. Every state is going to have different requirements. Some are going to be more restrictive, some are going to be less restrictive. So it really depends on where you live and the state that you're in. Also, it could depend on the language of the non-compete itself. So if you had a non-compete that's in force for 10 years, but the state law says a non-compete can only be 2 years, then that non-compete could be invalid. So you need to check with, number one, the law in your state, and number two, the language in the non-compete itself. If the law says the non-compete is good for, can be no longer than 3 years, and the non-compete itself says 1 year, then I think the 1 year period would control because it's less than what the state says. But if it's longer than what the state says a non-compete can be for, then it could cause problems for the non-compete. Now, I don't know if you are subject to the non-compete or if you're the one writing the non-compete, but that's just something to think about. Let's see. Yeah, Michelle, I don't really, like I said, I'm not a car lawyer. I don't deal with that. That you'd need probably a consumer protection lawyer for help you with that. Michelle asks, is giving more information about this car that evidently she purchased, that she purchased new, but it actually was used. So this is why it's important to do Carfax reports if you're going to buy a car, to make sure that it is actually the car that the company says they're buying. Mad Dog says, how much do you know about business that sell photography art? I own a magazine. I want to sell the top shots we get as fine art prints. Okay, well that sounds good. I don't know really what your question is there. How much do I know about it was actually the question you asked. How much do I know about businesses that sell photography art? They're just like any other businesses. There's going to be, whenever you're dealing with art, there's going to be a number of issues that you're going to need to deal with, aside from making sure that the business is being run properly. You also may have, you're going to have copyright issues. If you have people if you have photographers that are working for you, you need to make sure you have contracts in place for those photographers to make sure they're work for hire, so that you own the copyrights to them if you own the business. If you want to sell the top shots, I don't know. Again, I don't understand. You own the magazine. You want to sell the top shots as fine art prints. Well, if you own the copyright, you can do whatever you want with them. I don't know if there's a whole lot of legal gray area with selling photos. It's all dealing with copyright law. So it's making sure that you own the proper copyrights to those businesses. More cars today. Let's see. Anvil Music and Media says, I've inherited 2 cars from my dad's parents' estate. Can you explain the price of transferring a car into an LLC? Would these cars no longer be able to be used personally? I guess the question is, why are you transferring them into an LLC? This raises an important issue that I think is a lot of people deal with. I think people think these LLCs are just like this catch-all to help you avoid taxes and avoid liability and avoid this and avoid that, and I think they get overused. The whole point of an LLC is it's a limited liability company. The point is to provide limited liability to the owner of the LLC who's operating a business in most cases. In situations like that, it may be more appropriate to have a trust of some sort in place, or something else like that, where um, if you're trying to not own the car for whatever reason, I'm not sure why. Yeah, I don't even know what you would do in that situation. Yeah, but if a car is in an LLC, yes, it can be used for personal reasons, but you have to. If the reason you're putting a car into a business or into an LLC or a corporation is to use that car in the business, the person who is using the car can still use it for personal reasons, but they have to make appropriate. They basically have to deduct that from the amount that they basically have to compensate the business for that in a way. And that's something you probably want to talk to an accountant about. If someone that doesn't work for a company signs a contract with a software company for the company buying the software with the company's consent, can the contract be voided from the buyer's side in Florida? The company? I don't really understand that question. You got way too much going on there. You need to simplify the question. I don't really understand what you're asking. Mad Dog says, sweet, thanks Jim, that answer what I was looking for. Good, I hope, I'm glad. Sherabanu says, where can I study copyright law for protecting my artworks? Free copyright, free knowledge, right knowledge. You can go to the Copyright Office. They've got a lot of information for free online. It's at copyright.gov, and that's a good place to do. I've done some videos on copyright on my channel also that you can feel free to check out. All right. Well, listen, I just wanted to come on and do a quick live because I wasn't going to be able to record a video this week. Some of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the coming weeks that I think are going to be helpful and important. Let me just pull up my notes again here. Is some of the my law firm, as it stands right now, like I said, we handle primarily trademark matters for people. So if you are interested in registering a trademark for your business, we can help you with that. That's probably over 90% of what we do. But we're starting to expand into other areas as well. And one of the things we're trying to do is we're working with startup businesses. So if you are in business with some partners and you're trying to start a business and maybe get funding and really build a quickly growing enterprise, we want to talk with you because those are the type of businesses that are going to be our bread and butter moving forward. And so one of the things I want to talk about in the coming weeks, and if you want to check out our website at jameshartlaw.com, you'll be able to see some of this information. We're going to be talking about, and also on my podcast, The Legal Gym, we'll be talking about some of the biggest mistakes that I see startups making as they are starting the process of building a business. And there's just so many legal challenges that people get into when they're starting a new business, especially if you're starting a new business with other partners. And so we'll be talking about all those issues and everything from, not having clear deals with your other partners. In other words, not having an agreement in place with the other founders of the business, to not having the right legal structure to just get started, to not picking the right name for the business. I see that all the time as being a trademark lawyer. And then there's all sorts of other issues, security issues, employment issues, contract issues, all sorts of things, tax issues that need to be dealt with. So those are the types of things we're going to be talking about in the coming weeks. And if you are a founder or you're building a startup, I want to talk with you. And again, you can go to my website at jameshartlaw.com, fill out the questionnaire there, and I would love to have a conversation with you about what it is that you're trying to do for your business and see if we can help you. Stanwin says, what about patents? We are not a patent law firm. Well, that's not to say we won't do patents, but as of right now, I am not licensed to practice patent law. That requires a special bar license and special expertise. Over time, I would like to hire some lawyers that can do that for me, but as of right now, that's not something that we are able to offer. Okay, let's see. We got a rephrase of the question from before from Baruto's dad. If someone that doesn't work for company A signs a contract for company A with their consent to buy the software from company B, could the contract be voided by company A since the signer was a non-worker? I honestly don't know. I would need more specifics about that, but if that's going to come down to agency. So if the person was, was an agent of company. So like I do this all the time as a lawyer, right? I work with clients and I sign things on behalf of my clients that I'm not working for that. I do not work for my client's company. I'm not an employee of my client's company, but that doesn't mean that I can't legally bind my client when I sign their trademark applications, or if I were to sign a lawsuit on their behalf. And I don't do lawsuits, but you get the idea. Or if anything like that. So if I have power of attorney to sign something on behalf of that company, if I have agency to move forward for that company, then that's something we can do. So yeah, it could happen. If it was somebody that just signed a contract on behalf of a company, if they represented that they worked for that company, but in fact they did not work for that company, or maybe they were a disgruntled former employee of that company, then it really depends on the facts of the situation in terms of whether that can be voided. Are apartment rentings laws different in every country? Yes, and they're also different in every state. So yeah. Interestingly enough, so I just moved back from Portugal. The rental laws there, and we were renting an apartment while we were there, are very pro-tenant versus like here where I live in North Carolina, the rental laws are very pro-landlord. The things that a landlord can do here are you could never get away with in Portugal. And things that tenants can do in Portugal, tenants can't get away with here. So yeah, landlord-tenant law is different in every country. It's different in every state in the United States. So yeah, absolutely. Jeremiah says, I just want to say I appreciate you. You're an amazing young man. Well, thank you. I don't know that I'm a young man, but I appreciate that anyway. So listen, I've been on for a little while here. I'm going to have to hit the road because I have a phone call with a client here at the top of the hour, and I've got to do some things before that. But listen, I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for asking questions. If you do have issues or questions, or you want to talk with me further about what's going on with you and your business, then I would love to talk with you. Again, the people that are best suited for my business and who I work for are going to be people that work for companies who are fast growing, who appreciate the legal advice we provide and have the capacity to pay for our legal advice. Obviously, you need to be able to afford it, and lawyers are not cheap. But I am happy to talk with you. Just feel free to go to jameshartlaw.com and fill out your information. I see Jen. Good to see you, Jen. I am going to go ahead and sign off now, but thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon here in December, wherever you may be, and we will talk with you next time. Take care.